a Trump adversary, former FBI Director James Comey. And they both had very high-profile jobs at the Department of Justice, very successful careers in private practice, and all of those signs point to a charging decision coming soon. In fact, that's what Bloomberg News reported this week. They said in a few weeks. I still think that's ambitious. My time frame is more April or May. But what say you, Michael Popak, as Jack Smith arrives in D.C.?
Yeah, if all that he's done is from The Hague, look out with Jack Smith getting 2 feet on the ground in Washington, D.C. I mean, the momentum that he already has, he made a calculated decision at the very beginning, Ben, to use the existing and respect the existing line prosecutors and everyday prosecutors that were already in place under Merrick Garland. And rather than throw them out and start anew with his own people, being a lifelong DOJ person, I mean, if you prick Jack Smith's arm, it bleeds DOJ blue. He liked those prosecutors, but he needed to add additional ones. And the first 2 real top prosecutors that he's added, bolted on to the existing group of 20 or 25 or so prosecutors that are already in place that he inherited, that he is now cracking the whip and driving. The 2 new ones are really great for justice because of their close relationship with Jack Smith, trust them implicitly, and because of their career record of going after people just like Donald Trump in positions of power and taking them down.
All right, check.
Ray Holster was known in his time in the Public Integrity Unit of the Department of Justice as Mr. Fix-It, but his real claim to fame was he was the number 2 and the right hand of one Jack Smith when Jack Smith was the head of the Department of Justice Public Integrity Unit under Loretta Lynch. And
check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
After Jack Smith left. So there's nobody who's closer, professionally or personally, than Ray Holster to Jack Smith. And then they bring along Dave Harbach, who was currently at O'Melveny and Myers, a very large, well-respected law firm, but also had been counsel, as you said, to the FBI Director Comey and has a lot of involvement. And these 3 together, or at least Holster and Harbach,
check. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Senator Bob Menendez.
Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Check. Pronunciation. Check. 1, 2. Can you read my lips? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I was walking along the beach today and I saw a girl, a rainbow, picked up sleep feet faster under the west, therefore the pizza sleeps faster under the west, therefore the mudge. Check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pizza sleeps fast under the west, therefore the mudge. Criminal. Pizza sleeps fast under the west. Criminal. Do you understand that pizza sleeps fast under the West? Criminal, criminal, check, check, one.
Well, perhaps a sign of things to come as he lands a kick there. Well, perhaps a sign of things to come as he lands a kick there. Well, perhaps a sign of things to come as he lands a kick there.
Nice kick landed by this gentleman.
Oh!
What a fantastic strike to throw at the exact right moment. What a fantastic strike to throw at the exact right moment. He deserves this moment. Go finish his fight. He deserves this moment. Go finish his fight.
Oh, there's a takedown attempt, unable to get the fight to the ground. Nice job by the opponent.
Nice job by the opponent.
Check, 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 check. Testing one. One, two, three, four, five, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now, what was the fucking problem before? Now, I have a natural delay on my thing. But it's damn near mirroring. Check, testing. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Check, check, check. All right. All right, all right, all right. That's that. Let's see, this food better be here. I'm hungry.
They have never lost a trial yet, including trying very difficult seditious conspiracy claims, charges against the Oath Keepers. Now they will be trying those claims against the Proud Boys. And so you have a perfect record. You've climbed the ladder now. You've reached the point where you've passed the baton over to special counsel Jack Smith, essentially the LeBron James of prosecutors, who's building out the dream team of other prosecutors. There's no better textbook way of handling it other than to say, I understand the fact that we all wanted it to go quicker. However, sometimes the quickness of something is not necessarily equated with the carefulness and the diligence that is needed. And speaking of diligence, one of the things that Merrick Garland was doing, and now special counsel Jack Smith is doing, is having to continue to fight to get documents and information in these special grand jury proceedings. The presiding federal judge in Washington, D.C., Judge Beryl Howell, she also presides over all criminal grand juries, and thus she presides over the Trump criminal grand juries. And we know that there's at least 2, maybe 3 or 4 right now in Washington, D.C., currently engaged in criminal investigations of Donald Trump. These grand jury proceedings are secret, and they're always secret. And there's a lot of reasons why grand juries are secret. One, there's a presumption of innocence. So with all of these documents are flying around in the public, people who are being criminally investigated, we're not just saying Donald Trump, it's anybody, their names would be out there and associated with the criminal conduct being investigated and not necessarily the charges. And it's also to protect the investigations themselves and keep the investigation secret so that the Department of Justice and the FBI can do their work appropriately without leaks damaging their investigation. But inevitably, there are some leaks. So, for example, we know some of the victories by the Department of Justice in these grand jury proceedings. For example, Donald Trump has tried to assert executive privilege to block the testimony of his top former lawyers like Pat Cipollone and Patrick Philbin, and former Vice President Pence's former top staffers. As well, like Greg Jacob and Mark Short. Greg Jacobs was Pence's former general counsel, and Mark Short was former Vice President Pence's former chief of staff. All of those individuals were forced to assert the executive privilege, frankly, against their will, because Trump was the one who holds the privilege, and he was asserting it. And the Department of Justice, we previously have reported this, they prevailed there, got that testimony of all of their communications with Trump. By the way, the January 6th committee was not able to get that information because of the legal challenges by Donald Trump and by the other witnesses, which dragged it on until the expiration of the Jan 6th committee. But Jack Smith has those. The only thing different is that the Jack Smith grand jury is just not public. So we're not seeing necessarily what's going on, which I think would give people a better deal of confidence if they could see it. But there are very important reasons why they are secret. And by the way, that takes time. And I've done this before on the show where I was just like, if you called up someone like Pat Cipollone as your witness and you didn't break the executive privilege, if you didn't challenge it before, and then you had to call a critical witness and you're in front of a jury, and now you can't get the testimony, you're going to look like an idiot and you're going to lose the case. And unfortunately, these grand juries, they only meet a few times a month. By the way, they're picked from the same group of jurors that are for regular juries as well, except someone's commitment to a special grand jury, because it could take many, many months at a time. It usually you get a certain kind of group of people who can do that, who don't necessarily have the same commitments, let's just say. And so you have these proceedings going on before the special grand jury. It takes time. And now we have all of the information that special counsel Jack Smith needs. But Popak, there was another good ruling by Judge Beryl Howell in addition to the ones I just mentioned. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, talk about functioning branches of the government. The judiciary branch is functioning reasonably well, especially in the D.C. Circuit and under Chief Judge Beryl Howell. So people may remember from who regularly listen to Legal AF and watch Legal AF with you and me, that there is still a battle going on between the Department of Justice who does not believe, neither does the National Archive, that Donald Trump has complied with the subpoena to turn over all classified information that belongs to him. The one skirmish that everybody remembers is Mar-a-Lago, but that wasn't the only place. The subpoena that came out of the grand jury was not tied to Mar-a-Lago. It was tied to Donald Trump. And Donald Trump had to, and as an obligation under criminal penalty, to turn over all documents responsive to those subpoenas, no matter where those documents are, as long as they're under his care, custody, and control and knowledge. So Mar-a-Lago was one place. Because the Department of Justice knew that Mar-a-Lago held a large cache of these documents, because they had cooperating witnesses that told them that, they went there first. After a series of requests, demands, letters, entreaties, negotiations broke down, they finally had it, went into a magistrate judge in South Florida and got a search warrant and went and executed on it, led us to Judge Cannon. And we all know what happened after that with the 11th Circuit and eventually the Supreme Court throwing the book at Judge Cannon and making sure all those documents got back into the hands of the Department of Justice for their criminal investigation. But that's not the only place these documents existed. Trump it's notorious in public that he lives in Trump Tower, his main primary residence on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan. And also he spends an inordinate amount of his time at a golf club in Bedminster, New Jersey, which is very close to Alina Habba's office, which is how they met. So the Department of Justice has always had a working theory and a lack of trust in their negotiations with Donald Trump's lawyers that they're not all documents aren't returned, all top secret documents don't return. And they brought that mistrusting feeling to Beryl Howell. And if you'll recall, our listeners and followers, there was a motion for contempt hearing that was held. And at that time, a month or so ago, Beryl Howell hadn't reached the red line yet of finding Donald Trump and his lawyers in contempt for not turning over all the documents. But she did suggest in very, I'm sure, very strongly worded suggestions from a judge, really instructions, that Donald Trump needed to go back to the drawing board, do a better job of searching all of these places and making a full report back to her and to the Department of Justice. That resulted in 2 more documents, top secret, classified, being found in West Palm Beach in a government facility that Donald Trump had, because as an ex-president, you get certain resources. One of them is a storage unit. So he had a classified, or he just had a government storage unit for a lot of his things. And 2 more documents were found in there. Who were they found by? Donald Trump said that he hired a private investigative team, some private people, to go search these places and make their report. Well, the Department of Justice doesn't trust Donald Trump for very good reason, and doesn't trust these, as of this moment, unnamed, unidentified, quote unquote, private investigators who may or may not have been incentivized to properly search these places. Because even at this moment, even as late as October, Ben, you may recall, the National Archive reported to the Jan 6 committee that they still believe that there are more top secret and classified documents that have not been turned over by Donald Trump. And nothing's happened between October and now January to change the mind of the DOJ that there's still a cache of documents somewhere that Donald Trump hasn't bothered, because he doesn't want to be bothered, to go look for. So Donald Trump came up with some sort of compromise where he said, well, Your Honor, through his lawyers, well, Your Honor, the Department of Justice can talk to my private investigative team and get all the information and debrief them about how they did it, but we don't want their identity revealed at all. It's not even redacted. They just didn't want the Department of Justice to know who was on the other end of the call. And the Department of Justice said, no dice, no way. We want to know who these people are, what they did. We want to be able to background check these people, know what their qualifications are for even doing this. Is this Cyber Ninjas Part 2? Who is this group that's been hired? And the fact that Donald Trump thought he could actually convince Beryl Howell that he could tell the Department of Justice they could have access to these people but not know their identity was not happening. So the Department of Justice went back to Beryl Howell in the reporting. And on Wednesday, the judge ruled that Donald Trump has to turn over the names and the identity of just who it was that did the search for the classified documents. But one last thing, Ben, before we move on to the other things I know you want to talk about. The Jack Smith special prosecutor-led team against Donald Trump and all the Jan 6 stuff, we're not even done. We keep giving the stats of 950 people arrested, 450 plus people convicted, either by trial or by plea, and more to come. They're not even done with their investigations. I don't know if you caught this, Ben. Just this week, the FBI and the DOJ sent out yet another wanted poster, if you will, because they're still looking for leads to who put 2 pipe bombs in front of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, and the RNC, the Republican version. They still don't know who did that. So they're still trying to track down Jan 6th insurrectionists and defendants and bring them to justice, even one day after the 2-year anniversary of January 6th. That's what our Department of Justice in proper hands does.
I hear they're giving a $500,000 reward, and they may want to post that wanted sign in the House of Representatives in the Republican caucus room. Maybe there's some insight there. I don't know. I'm just saying, let's talk about the wrongful death lawsuit brought by the estate of the deceased Capitol Police officer, Brian Sicknick. It was filed on January 5th. The lawsuit was brought by Sandra Garza, his longtime partner, who brought this individually and as a personal representative of the estate of Brian Sicknick. It is a wrongful death lawsuit, and in a wrongful death, it is a civil lawsuit. It's not criminal, meaning that what it seeks is monetary damages. The defendants in this matter are Donald Trump, Julian Cater, and George Tanios. Cater and Tanios are insurrectionists who have already pled guilty. They were not charged by the Department of Justice, though, with murder. The Department of Justice got them on, of course, other charges as well. Brian Sicknick passed the day after the insurrection. During the insurrection, he suffered multiple strokes based on the conduct by the insurrectionists. In a wrongful death lawsuit, what you're alleging is that as a direct and proximate cause, as a cause of the conduct by the defendants you are suing, that caused the death. And it was foreseeable, and it caused the death of an individual. And so that is what is being alleged here. And in this case, the estate of Brian Sicknick is alleging that Donald Trump is someone who caused the death of Brian Sicknick. It's a 47-page complaint. It's very, very, very powerful. I'll just read for you one paragraph here where it says, "The peaceful transfer of power is a sacrament of American democracy. Defendant Donald Trump, together with other co-conspirators, defiled that orderly transition through a campaign of lies and incendiary rhetoric, which led to the ransacking of the United States Capitol as part of an insurrectionist effort on January 6, 2021, by defendants Julian Cater and George Tanios and many others. The attack on the United States Capitol cost the U.S. Capitol officer Brian Sicknick, hereinafter Sicknick, who was bravely defending the cradle of democracy, his life." It goes on to seek monetary damages. The case was filed on January 5th, and so the statute of limitations for wrongful death in Washington, D.C., this was filed in D.C. federal court. The conduct occurred in D.C., is a 2-year statute of limitations, so it was brought right before the expiration there of the statute of limitations. And ultimately, this case, I'm not sure if it's been assigned to a federal judge yet, but you may recall we've spoken about here on Legal AF the case brought by other Capitol Police officers and members of Congress that was filed against Donald Trump and others. That case was before federal Judge Amit Mehta. Whether this case will get related to Judge Amit Mehta, but Judge Amit Mehta was presented with a motion to dismiss filed by Donald Trump, claiming that he was entitled to absolute immunity because it took place during the time while he was the president, and Trump argued that he was effectuating his constitutional responsibilities. Not so, said Amit Mehta there. In fact, Amit Mehta says, This had nothing to do with your responsibilities. Quite the contrary. It was undermining what it is that a president is supposed to do. You were not effectuating your constitutional duties to protect and defend the Constitution. And this was about installing yourself in power as a dictator. And it had nothing to do with your being a president. It had everything to do with your campaigning and your PACs and your other conduct as not acting in your scope as the president to overthrow our democracy. That case went on appeal. For those new legal AFers, go back and watch some of our past episodes, because we covered oral argument before a 3-judge panel in the DC circuit, where there was one Obama judge, one Clinton judge, and one Trump judge who made up that panel, that 3-judge panel there. One development with that panel as well that you should be aware of, they asked for, on December 20th, an amicus brief, which is a Friends of the Court brief, to be filed by the Department of Justice, so that the Department of Justice can give its view about whether or not they believe there should be absolute immunity here or not. It will be interesting to see what the Department of Justice does. The DOJ's response is due sometime in mid-January, because normally the DOJ would want to protect executive branch power. But here, where it was undermining our democracy, and where the Department of Justice on the criminal side is involved in criminal conduct, granted, there are different standards and different things that would ultimately apply to civil immunity versus criminal conduct. I think the Department of Justice is also going to be very careful, though not to take a position that could undermine what's going on in the criminal proceeding. So why am I mentioning that at all? And what's going on with Judge Amit Mehta and the DC Circuit? Because ultimately that will be dispositive on this Brian Sicknick case. And by dispositive, I mean, if for whatever reason the DC Circuit Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court dismisses that other case that was filed by the other Capitol Police officers, then this case will almost certainly be dismissed as well if the absolute immunity applies. And you may be saying, well, of course he doesn't have absolute immunity. Well, there's a few different cases on this. I mean, the one case is an early 1980s case with Nixon, and Nixon unlawfully terminated someone and retaliated someone for giving congressional testimony. And there the Supreme Court held, look, when you're the president, even if you're doing things that may be unlawful, if it's still within the scope of what a president does, we don't want civil lawsuits to be filed against United States presidents, for better or for worse, because they're supposed to be trusted as being responsible and whatever, while they are the president. So, but then you had this Clinton and Paula Jones case where Clinton was sued while he was the governor, and that was on the other end of the spectrum. It predates him being the president, and there the Supreme Court said that's not conduct during the presidency. This is an interesting one because it falls within the Nixon aspect of it occurred while he was the president, but clearly the conduct was to undermine the Constitution. And so even as we talk later with what's going on in the House of Representatives, this has been such a this fascism from these Republicans and from Trumpism and MAGA has been such a stress test to all of our institutions and our laws and the constructs that we had that were based on these norms and based on the naive view that, no, this can't happen here. This can't happen here. Popok, anything to even add, or did I just nail it?
Peace and respect to you all. Welcome to Demolished Doctrine, the beginning of the end of religions. Bum, bum.
I almost left the podcast.
I'll let you take all of the next one.
No. We're not. All right, we're not doing that. Just a couple of comments. This case also has another hurdle because the autopsy for Brian Sicknick, who died a day after Jan 6th of a heart attack, or of natural causes, is what the forensic autopsy revealed, although it said a contributing factor was Jan 6th, Brian Sicknick was sprayed with pepper spray. So you got the issue of natural causes. There were, 5 law enforcement that died either on Jan 6th or after, many by suicide, for those that forget. But they are no less victims of Donald Trump and the Jan 6 insurrectionists than if Donald Trump strangled them himself. And I think Brian Sicknick falls into that category as well. I don't think a healthy 42-year-old who's serving as a Capitol Police officer dies on January 7th of natural causes if he wasn't sprayed in the face repeatedly with pepper spray, and also attacked, and then died the next day. I think that blood is on the hands of Donald Trump and the others. And the way they framed it in their lawsuit is that, as you read from the paragraph, that his death was the direct and foreseeable consequence of Trump's actions, including his tweeting encouragement during the attack and fomenting that attack. And then to see that as a juxtaposition, the split screen of what Trump's representative said after hearing about the filing of the lawsuit, they actually, I don't want to laugh, they actually said that all Trump did was ask for people to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. Peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard. We know that's a bald-faced lie. We know from all the Jan 6 testimony and witness statements. We know from the video evidence of what he said. We know that they needed to fight. They needed to fight for America, fight for democracy, go down to the Capitol. I'll be there with you. Basically, it was a bugle call to attack the Capitol. No less so than if an army, had the person in the front with the bugle and the flag attack, and that's what he did, and lit that flame and fired that missile at the Capitol. So to now say, but this is the delusion of Donald Trump in trying to defend himself in civil and in criminal cases by saying all I did was exercise my First Amendment rights on the ellipse. I never told him to attack the Capitol. And this is the same guy that wants to give, if he ever gets back into power, God forbid, who wants to give pass and give presidential pardons to anyone, no matter what they did. He never distinguishes it by attacking people at the Capitol or trying to assassinate members of Congress. So I'm glad she filed it. I don't know what took her so long. I'm glad she did it. It doesn't really matter whether it's filed on the first day of the statute of limitations or the very last moment of it. It's in under the wire, but it is under the wire. It's funny, I have a case I'm filing actually on Monday that's going to be right at the wire of a 2-year statute of limitations. I got the case sort of late, and I have to scramble to get the case filed, because if you don't, you are just out of the box, and you will be easily dismissed on the papers on a statute of limitations. So they did it. They brought it. They're seeking $10 million per defendant, including Donald Trump, and we'll have to see who the judges assign to it. But yes, I agree with you. There's going to be a fight over whether presidential immunity under the Westfall Act and the line of cases that you cited is going to apply to this particular case. If Judge Maida gets it, the answer to that is no.
And everybody pay attention to what's going on.
All right, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And now it's out of sync. That's it. That's 100% what it did before. Now it's out of sync. That's it. That's. Check. Yo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Check. Check, check. 1, 2. Testing. Pronunciation. Check, check. Pronunciation. 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 One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One, 2. I wished I had a wishing well to wish upon a star. Check, 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 check. Well, a wish upon a star. That's definitely not in sync. Well, a wish upon a star. That's definitely not in sync. Oh, it went right back on. Oh, because it's the same stream key. Check. 1, 2, 3. To be honest, that looks a lot better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. How does it look when I'm talking to you? It's actually off. It was way off. I could finally tell it was really off. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Testing 1. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. Check. Testing 1. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check, check, testing. 1, 2, test, test, testing. 1, 2. Brr. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check, 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 check. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2. Check, 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 testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. One, 2, 3, 4. Check, 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 testing. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Testing. 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4. One, two, three, four. Get your woman on the floor. Gotta get up to get down. 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 I'm saying no. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get your woman on the floor. All right, check, check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mic, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, check. Check, testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, four. Check, check, check. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. One, two, three, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Testing. 1, 2. Check, check. 1, 2. Check, check. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm worried about the pronunciation. I'm just trying to check the pronunciation. Check, check. Well, yo, what about here? What about... Oh, shouldn't switch it. What about here? What about the side cam? Well, yo, what about... The side cam is hella delayed. The side cam, hella delayed. Nah, it's not on. I mean, it's definitely not on. It's definitely not on. Nah, it's not on. I mean, definitely not on. Definitely not. Check, check. Check, 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 check. Testing 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, check. Testing 1, 2, 3. Check, testing. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. Check, check. I think the sinking is great today. Check, check, check. I think the sinking is great today. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Check, check, check. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. That is not half bad. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Check, check. Yeah, I think the timing is a bit off. I normally sing with the mic in front of my mouth, but I do think the timing is off. Check, check, check. Check, check. Check. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check. Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Both of them just talking about the importance of infrastructure, showing that bridges are actually being built. They were at a place where a bridge was being built and infrastructure was being built, and the importance of bringing jobs here to the United States of America. So our economy is bouncing back stronger than ever after the Trump debacle. And this is a time, to your point, Popak, where the MAGA Republicans want to hurt the United States economy. That's my second point. My third point, George Santos. George Santos is like that whole George Santos drama, George Santos being an utter complete fraud and him being embraced by the MAGA Republican Party, seemed to have found his crew, hanging with Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz, and he was showing people like memes of, one of the memes he was showing people was the one where it says McCarthy pick the speaker, and there's a bunch of speaker graphics, and the actual speakers are there, but the McCarthy head was not being checked off. He's like showing people that. He's like apparently throwing out the white power symbol. There's like photos of him doing that. he's being peppered by questions and running away. Like, it's just humiliating too and weird to have someone like George Santos there. And they don't give a crap, the MAGA Republicans. I mean, McCarthy needed his vote. We see how close it came, that Santos's vote was pivotal to McCarthy, and that they have to embrace. They have embraced, that is the party, someone who's lied about every aspect of his life, including that his grandparents are Holocaust survivors, that his last name is Zabrowski, that his mom died in 9/11, that his mom survived 9/11, that his dad survived 9/11, that 4 people who worked for him died in the Pulse nightclub shooting, that he went to this college and he worked here, and everything the guy said is a lie. And he's there basically sitting around like with like poop in his pants, and nobody around him's like, dude, you smell like shit. Like, he's just sitting there like Santos, like, and it's like, what is going on? And I couldn't help but make the observation that it's like, you got Santos, you got McCarthy, you got them literally throwing punches at you, you got fist fights breaking out, and then you have this image of Katie Porter on the other side, just like reading a book, and Democrats all there, all voting together, all giving speeches about how they want to advance the economy, protect the rights of women over their bodies, to focus on the economy, to focus on equality. Like, it was very policy driven and things that matter to the American people. And then you just had the MAGA Republicans give these like horrific speeches. They're just so bizarre and weird. That brings me to my fourth and final point, which is Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader, the minority leader, who was set to become the Speaker of the House. He looked like the real Speaker of the House yesterday or in the early hours of today. That's for sure. Hakeem Jeffries gave an incredible speech where he gave all of the contrasts between Democrats and the MAGA Republicans alphabetically. He went A to Z, and it was one of the greatest speeches I think I've ever heard in my life. Equal to, maybe better than the Obama convention speech in 2004. It was that incredible of a speech. And to have a leader like that with real power, really focused on the issues of American people, that's why I'm proud to be a Democrat. Not arbitrarily because I want to own the... No, I want...
Check. Testing 1, 2, check. Check. It's grossly off. Oh, it's not that bad on the monitor. It's worse on the stream. Check. 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 1, 2, 3. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Check. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4.